this episode of Rise and Thrive, we explore the powerful connection between movement and mental well-being. From daily walks to structured workouts, exercise is more than just physical. It's a vital tool in managing stress, anxiety, and emotional health. Join us as we speak with experts and individuals who share how staying active has transformed their mental outlook and helped them rise above life's pressures. This episode is brought to you by our title sponsor, Brain Armor. Visit brainarmor.com and use the code RISE and THRIVE to receive 50% off your order. This episode of Rise and Thrive is proudly presented by our special title sponsor, IG Private Wealth Management, Harvey and Dalio Group, an exclusive combination of financial planning, coaching, and investment management experts. A team of professionals committed to performance-based planning. The belief is wealth planning shouldn't be made of copy and paste solutions, but rather created with the same unique care that you provide to your family and business.
Hello and welcome to Rise and Thrive. I'm Michael Paletta with my co-host Ted Michaels. Today we're here with PJ Mercanti of Carmen's group to discuss stress and mental health. PJ, thanks for coming to the show.
It's great to be on. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So let's talk about stress. I look at you and you're here at the beautiful Sea Hotel. You have your office downtown. You're involved in those two things. You're involved in charities. You're involved with the new arena project in Hamilton. How do you manage the time?
It's not easy, but I've been fortunate to create a system that is helping me manage my evolving world. But it requires a lot of planning. It requires a good support team, and it requires some boundaries that I've put in that help me to manage the responsibilities.
Boundaries as in?
So I'm intentional about carving out time every day for my own physical health, which obviously then helps with my mental health and stress management. But I make sure to block off 4 to 6 o'clock every day for a workout or opportunity to decompress.
One thing, and Michael and I have talked about this as well, you come in and you have your day plan. You have meeting at 8 o'clock, blah, 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 blah. And then what we call the crap storm hits, where something happens out of the blue, whatever it is.
Sure.
Talk about dealing with that, because that's one thing, as I've gotten older, that I realized that I kind of like things like this, and I'm not really good at the adrenaline rush anymore since I've retired from radio. How do you handle that?
So it's a challenge, because the surprises do emerge, and when you have a lot of projects on the go and a lot of different business interests on the go, it's inevitable that you do get those surprise issues that percolate. And I would say, having now been involved with the family enterprise for 2 decades, I've learned that about a third of my time will be eaten up by surprises or things that weren't on the agenda, weren't on the bingo card at the beginning of the day, that later in the day something comes up. So now I've realized that it requires an open-mindedness to pivot quickly, and I'm fortunate now to have 2 great assistants that help reschedule things when they need to be rescheduled and work with making the time when those emergency situations come up.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like, obviously, as you mentioned before, a great support system which helps you cope and manage with your day-to-day stresses of the business.
Absolutely.
And speaking of day-to-day, how does your wife handle your stresses?
So that's a great question, and she does wear the stress, and I see that, how I show up at home, the energy in the house will reflect that. And so I'm fortunate that I have a very understanding wife that grew with me in the business. So she worked at Carmen's for 7 years in her high school and university years, and so she understands the grind and the responsibilities on me. So I'm fortunate that she's lived the journey with me, and we're fortunate that we have the support of my parents and her parents to help watch the kids and provide a bit of an additional support net to her,
Right.
and by extension myself.
That's very important.
Yeah.
You talk about 4 to 6 o'clock, you have your workout, whatever. And then you talk about the support system with your wife, Diana. Is it tough for you to go home and not have problems of work bringing it home? Honestly.
Yes, and I'll have my 4 to 6 o'clock window to myself to work out and decompress. A lot of times I have to attend events from 6 till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and so I'd say I'm probably only home 1 or 2 days a week, midweek, and I try my best from 6 till 8 to be with my kids and to be with Diana. Once the kids go to bed, I'll spend some time with Diana watching TV or shows that we are into. And there are times when I will get an important email or phone call that will pull me away. So she's become acclimated to that reality, and I do try to minimize it. But there are sometimes those surprise calls that you get at 8 o'clock that you have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case with any family-run business or business that you're running. It's a 24/7 deal.
For sure.
And it's good that you have the support system at home and an understanding wife. Like, I have an understanding wife. We're both in the same situation. We're both running, large businesses that take up a lot of our time. And the support at home, I think, is half the battle.
100%.
And as long as you can have that support at home with a wife or husband, depending on the situation, that helps tremendously.
Absolutely.
Talk about I don't know how much of an athlete you are when you play handball. Apparently nobody wants to play with you because you're that good. Talk about the endorphin rush. Do you get it on, I'm not saying every game, but every so often you hit it and think, geez, I really feel good today.
Absolutely. There's a great handball community at the downtown Hamilton YMCA that I'm fortunate to be a part of, and there's great competition amongst a certain group of players down there. And so we occasionally get into what we call the hot hand phase, where one of the players is constantly winning, and so you naturally have a competitive spirit that you want to have the hot hands that week or that month. But the great competition brings about a massive endorphin rush. After a great handball match, you come out of that court sweating. So I was fortunate not long ago to have an amazing set of games where I burned just under 1,000 calories in an hour and a half.
Wow.
So an hour and a half, it was a massive endorphin rush, and then following that, there's usually a sauna session that takes place. So you get to continue to sweat out the things that you put in your body, and so it's nice to kind of decompress that way. And then when you walk out of the YMCA, you are a completely transformed person. So my uncle Sam Mercanti, who brought me into the Y, used to always say, you walk in one person, you walk out a completely different man.
Wow.
When you leave the Y.
3, 2, 1.
Let's talk about a day in the life of Riccardo Persi. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I know there's no such thing as a normal day because you have your day planned. Something always seems to go awry. You come in, you have your meetings laid out, your phone calls, what have you, and then, as we say, the crap storm starts. Something happens, whatever. First of all, if nothing happens to you on a daily basis and you just go about your day, how extremely busy are you normally?
We have 6,000 members that we represent, probably about 300 different union contractors. every single day is different. You do have a schedule, but that schedule always gets changed around, and that's why it happens. You have to prioritize important things, and sometimes you have, like today, we have negotiations going on because it's a big year for us. Every 3 years, we negotiate the contracts, and we had some issues with some members today, so I had to go stop off at the office, deal with that situation, and iron out some issues, and then I showed up here and we're negotiating. So definitely the day never goes as planned, but definitely we try to make things work out.
How do you deal with that though? Like from a mental health stress perspective, maybe it's the way I'm built creatively. Like I kind of like to control what I can control. And in your case, that may not be able to be the case because things happen. From a mental health standpoint, is it draining knowing that something else has come up, I got to deal with this, and I have to prioritize? Oh my God, my day just got longer.
Yeah, it's tough because I mean the dealing with people is a tough business. You're dealing with your employees, you're dealing with the members, you're dealing with the contractors. And we have 4 different locations in the surrounding area. So you have lots of areas that you have to take care of. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I think, not to take it personally. When you do have an issue, deal with it. Understand that I'm sitting in here, I have a job, I'm paid well, and that person on the other side, stressed out, has to pay for, making sure that his kid's taken care of, making sure the mortgage is paid for. Maybe he's off on unemployment insurance, doesn't have a job right now. So it's so important to make sure to understand that the person, you're stressed out and you're dealing with it and you cannot show it. And you have to make sure that you have a positive lookout and be able to talk to them and feel for them. It's really about feeling for them. And that's one way that I deal with my stress is making sure that person walks out of my office knowing that somebody's listened to him and that his issues have been dealt with.
Taking that one step further, that's fascinating when you say it's not personal, but you're sitting there, and I'm sure there's times where you can feel your blood pressure rising, and maybe, the redness in the face doesn't show, but we all have ways of knowing that, I'm going to get very angry. Again, what do you do? Is it breathing or just kind of sitting there saying calm down where you don't lose your temper and then all of a sudden, if you will, you've lost the argument?
Yeah, so for in the big picture, I think exercising does help me a lot. It gets that adrenaline into you and it clears your head out. On the short term, I do try to get out of my seat and take a walk outside, get some fresh air, and try to break up the moment. Change of atmosphere I think helps me a lot because a lot of times you get stuck in your office for 8-10 hours. You're dealing with emails, you're dealing with text. Our bodies can only take so much, and I think we definitely, I can see why so many people are stressed out, because I don't think our bodies can take all this information, this data, and there's so much, and there's so many people want an answer ASAP. When that email comes out, they want a response within 10 minutes, and it's really about prioritizing which ones are most important. Which one do you think are the member or the contractor that's most stressed out right now that you need to deal with? There's other ones that you probably say, okay, I can deal with this maybe tomorrow, I can deal with this at the end of the day. So it's all about prioritizing your issues, and that seems to help me with my stress, being able to do that.
It's interesting when you talk about going for a run, because we'll delve more into that in a sec, but we've all heard the term the runner's high, where in my case, every so often, it's a rare moment where body and mind are together. Yeah. I'm moving not as quickly as I used to, but I definitely do get a little bit of a rush, and it's like, you know what, it's going to be okay. Do you find you get that as well?
Absolutely. It's funny because, like we were discussing before, when you're, it's hard to get going, especially when it's cold outside, gloomy and that. But once you get going, you get that first kilometer in you, it's like the adrenaline kicks in, it's like your head's cleared, and you can start thinking, differently, and you come up with different ideas. It is amazing what exercise does to you in clearing your mind and making you think clearly. It really is fascinating. It's a cheap drug because you don't have to take it. All you have to do is get your ass out of that chair.
It's interesting because one thing that jumped out at me, several years now, I've been involved in around the Bay, and every year I see the LiUNA team grow. And I remember a couple of years ago, LiUNA was there, and everybody was there. There must have been, I don't know, maybe 100 employees, and they all had these beautiful LiUNA sweat jackets on, and I thought, I'm so envious of that. But what was it like for you getting out the message in the emails going out, hey, we're forming a team, you can raise some money, try to do the best you can, but just come out, enjoy it, and more importantly, get some exercise? That must have made your heart feel good.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, I'll tell you how it started. 2013, we were on vacation in Florida, and I had bought in the Globe and Mail, and there was a story in there about a kid. His name was Kit. And it was a story about the parents and talking about the son that was suffering through schizophrenia, all the things that were happening to him, that he was a happy-go-lucky kid. And then one day things just changed for him, and he would be walking home from school, and there would be a beautiful, perfect sunny day, and the birds would be chirping in that. And to him, it wasn't. It was the birds were like screaming at him, and he went through a really, really bad time. Unfortunately, he committed suicide. And when I read that article, I said, you know what? It was March. The race was in about 3 weeks. I've been doing some running, but not full around the Bay. You know how tough around the Bay is. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go back home, call these parents, and ask them if I could run for Kit. And they were so ecstatic that a stranger would run for him. And that story to me was so touching. And so that first year, I raised in 3 weeks, I raised $20,000. And they came out to cheer me on at the finish line. The father was there. We've never met. We didn't do Zoom back then or anything like that. And he was there looking for me. I had a sweater on with running for Kit, and he ran with me for the last kilometer. It was such a touching story. And from that time on, we've been doing this now 11 years. And last year was our 10-year anniversary, and we raised over $1 million.
Wasn't expecting those hills.
Go, go, go. Look at these runners. They are determined and celebrate the finish. Up. There you go.
I'm pretty happy. From the other years was more flat, more level field. This time we had a few hills I wasn't expecting, but I'm happy with my time. I didn't do a lot of training this year because of the weather and that, so I'm happy with my time. Raising money for St. Joe's mental health. This is our 11th year doing this. The first year we raised about $10,000. We've raised to date $1.4 million. Just this race here we raised $142,000. And we had over 100 race guys running and walking for the event. So yeah, it was a great event.
Well, you've heard and seen how business people that are really busy, how they rise and thrive and get over their stress. So we thought to ourselves, let's talk to a couple of experts who help not only business people, but people as well from all walks of life get over that initial, I don't think I can do it phase. We're here at Northstar Strong in Hamilton on Upper Centennial Parkway, joined by the owners, the co-owners. We've got Corrinne and we've got Des. First of all, can't thank you enough for joining us.
Thanks for being here, Ted.
Now, first things first, I have to commend you because when you talk about a stress level, opening up a business is stressful enough, and you've been open for roughly about a year. When you finally sign the papers and everything is a go, did you have that moment of, oh my God, what have we done?
You speak of it like it's something in the past.
In other words, it's still going?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Absolutely.
How do you get over that?
That's a great question. Honestly, I have a few things. I have a little pet that helps me. I have a little puppy. She helps me stay sane. I have a great support system, whether it be my family abroad or local. Exercise is definitely a part of that. The satisfaction I get from teaching and working with people reminds me that the stress is worth it, I guess, and that in a way is a coping mechanism.
Now I know, Corrinne, you are also a part of this, and I find it fascinating that not only do you walk the walk, but you talk the talk. You lost an incredible amount of weight over a specific time period. Talk about that, talk about the things you went through. Maybe you think back, okay, was there a reason why I had to lose? And I think in this case it was 80 pounds.
Yeah, so I talk about the why a lot. The why is the reason why I still do it. It's hard to say if there was one single impacting, sentence that really had changed it, but I just kind of looked in the mirror one day and didn't recognize myself. And I didn't know where to go. I had not, a heavy support system of, education or things to go to or resources to reach out to. And I just kind of went with what I knew and started to eat a little healthier. And I went through mental struggles of, gaining the weight a little bit back and coming down on the scale again and then going back up, and just the mental struggles with self-image and confidence and struggling to get through that.
Loaded question, I realize that. When you talk about stepping on the scale, and did you hate yourself at times?
Absolutely, absolutely. There would be times where I wouldn't look at myself even in the passing mirror in the gym still. And it's I catch myself slipping back into that sometimes when life gets negative and life is hard sometimes. And I think that a part of it is really stemming to that why. Is back to that why and the reason why you started. And through my mom's health struggles, I think was a big pivotal time in my 20s, and that's what had really started with that.
Before we get to Des' story, did you, when you talk about gaining all that weight and then you had to lose it, was this a case of almost, I don't want to use the term reward eating, but you kind of, okay, I'm going to have whatever it is, in this case it could have been an extra piece of cake or what have you. Did you find that it was that constant battle that you were rewarding yourself for feeling rotten?
Absolutely. It was that vicious cycle of I just want something to make me feel better. And that's temporarily making me feel better, so I'm gonna keep wrapping myself in those things that are temporarily making me feel better, but long term they don't make you feel better at all.
Now, Des, your story is similar. You also lost close to the same amount of weight. Share your story. What, in so many words, and I know that there's a lot of layers to it, but what happened?
Mine was more of a definitive. There was literally a moment where I was experiencing physical, I wouldn't even say discomfort, I would say borderline pain. And I was of the mind that my weight is contributing to this, and I shouldn't feel that way at that age. I had just lost my father not too long before that. He got his act together a little late in life. He also was a little heavier set, but he got it together, and it was right at the peak of when he had it together that something else came and took him from us. And I just stood up one day and was like, I got to change this, because like if someone at his age could look and behave and be such an example, then why am I not?
You bring up a very interesting point, that people look at trainers, people that own gyms and think, oh, they've got the world, despite the fact of the financial things that we talked about. You've got the world by the backside, everything's good, you're working out with people. Yet again, the expression I use is everybody's got something, and you look at you and everything looks okay, but yet I can see the pain on your face. Is that something that you relate at times to when you're working out or training somebody here at Northstar?
In different ways. I relate the pain, I would say, more to the movement disorder population, which is something that we're very invested in. But I kind of want to touch on something else you mentioned, which is we have it together, it looks like we've got it all figured out, life's easy breezy. It's not. I have to apply the same strategies and discipline and knowledge that I empower our clients with on a daily. I'm still that same person who wants that second piece of cake.
I wanted to delve into something which I find fascinating, and that the both of you both of you train people that suffer from Parkinson's. I find it fascinating because I'm sure that there's people suffering from Parkinson's that think, I have no idea, no clue of what I can do, I have no desire, yet you work with them. Explain what you do with somebody that suffers from Parkinson's.
Yeah, thank you. I like to see people as individuals, and I don't mean to knock any other profession and their approach. I'm going to speak simply in my lane. I look at each person as where are they at today, and today could be different than yesterday, in a good way or a bad way. Where are you at today? What are the things we need to work on today to improve your quality of life? Specifically, this is not a generic program. This is what your body is capable of responding to today. How far can we push that? And how is it going to make you feel accomplished and more independent walking out of here and setting you up for tomorrow?
Okay, let's start with Corrinne. Let's find out about your story, because from what I understand, not only do you walk the walk, so to speak, but you talk the talk. You lost an incredible amount of weight, I believe close to 80 pounds. I know it's a long story and many twists and turns, but kind of share what the catharsis was. What was the eureka moment for you when you finally realized, you know what, I got to do something about my health?
I guess the deciding factor was watching my mom struggle with her own health. Through my 20s, she was struggling with diabetes a lot and could never really find an answer or the support system or the proper support system that she really needed to be able to battle it, and she lost the battle eventually after 10 years, and that's a heavy reason as to why I do what I do and why I continue to practice what I preach.
Were you rewarding yourself with food?
Absolutely, absolutely. Emotionally eating, I would, I'd work out one day and then, eat bad for 3 just because I worked out once. And, even the struggles through starting to lose the weight and the emotional turmoil that you have with, your self-confidence and self-image, plethora of things.
As a trainer, I mean, you give the client the positivity that, okay, we're going to work together. It almost sounds like you're saying that you still suffer from self-esteem issues and confidence issues. Fair statement?
Oh, absolutely, 1000%. I think that having a story where you come from, you deal with those things nonstop, and knowing where you come from and learning how to adapt with it and learning from those struggles.
There's the physical aspect, and then there's the mental aspect. Given what happened with your mother and what happened to you, was depression a major part? I don't know if it was diagnosed with you, I shouldn't ask that question, but was depression a part of your life in your battle with the scale?
Absolutely. I think that battle with depression started, I think it's natural to go through things through high school, and you're struggling to find yourself through high school. And so you struggle, as a kid through that. And then, being in later teens and early 20s, watching my mom struggle with depression. And, certain suicide attempts and certain other things were coming into play, and having to deal with depression at a younger age through high school, and then as my mom aged, through her own sickness and dealing with the depression that way.
Do your clients share their own stories? I'm wondering if, like, square one, when somebody comes in and you sit down and you obviously do the analysis with them, you know, physical, medications, all that stuff. Do you ever get into the psychological aspects of a potential client to find out, you know, why they're here? Yeah. Is depression a part of why you want to be here getting healthier?
100%. I think that what Northstar Strong really represents is the why. And really putting the why behind why you want to do the things that you want to be here doing, and the image of what you want to live like in another 10 years. And sitting down with someone, it's the cookie cutter. Okay, are you on these meds, the PAR cues, the health history? That's all cookie cutter to me. Sitting down and asking somebody what they really want and how they want to live their life in another 10 years is what's more important.
Is it fair to say then that having gone through what you went through from a mental health aspect, seeing somebody's battling depression, that you can relate to what they're going through, and it kind of makes you feel, if you will, even closer to that client?
Absolutely, and I think that that's really one thing that we really stem as a studio, and really meshing those guys together and making sure that, you know, that my clients know that I am a shoulder to lean on, that I am a part of their support system, because it's not a relationship, it's not a friendship, it's a coach. I'm a personal trainer. I'm not just a person who's certified in exercises. We personalize and individualize the programs, and that goes with the mental health. That goes with the body, mind, and soul of anybody that walks through our doors.
In the last few years, we've seen allegations of mistreatment, sexual abuse, and misuse of funds against at least 8 Canadian national sport organizations. Canadian Sport Minister Pascal Saint-Onge has even called it a crisis. So today we're talking with one of the many voices in this national conversation, sports psychiatrist Dr. Carla Edwards.
A fascinating look at the mind game when it comes to sports, and it even includes all you armchair athletes as well, and people who maybe participate on the weekend. So pleased to be joined by sports psychiatrist Carla Edwards, who deals with the Toronto Rock, working at the Toronto Rock Athletic Center. You've worked with Olympic athletes, you work with other pro athletes. Thank you for joining us.
You know, it's a real pleasure to be here. I am very lucky to work with the athletic population, and I love to talk about sports, so anytime.
Let's start off right from the beginning, because we've dealt in this series with people who have jobs, who have other careers, but when it comes to athletes, everybody has this perception when you watch, and we'll get into the Olympics, but you see somebody standing on the podium, and they got the gold medal, the silver medal, the bronze, whatever. Is it fair to say most of the athletes that you've dealt with are all dealing with some sort of fear going into an event, or anxiety, or there's something going on that maybe it's not quite as calm as people think it is?
100%. And in fact, when you see the world record holders even, or the gold medal winners at the Olympics, they all at some point have doubted their abilities. I've had world record holders reach out to me and say, I'm not a good enough swimmer, or I don't know how to swim. And I would say, well, you have the world record in swimming. You just won the Olympic gold. Help me understand. But they all have the doubts. They creep in there somehow.
What are those doubts based on? Is it performance? Is it the build-up? And there's a follow-up question to that, but what is that based on?
I think it changes throughout their career. So early in their career, it's before they've established themselves, whether or not they're good enough to be there, whether or not they've earned it, a bit of imposter syndrome. They see themselves suddenly on the world stage amongst their idols, in the next lane sometimes to their idols, and they have to prove themselves. And then suddenly they do at some point, and then it's about being chased. So they're no longer chasing, but then they're being chased. And then they see the younger people coming up behind them, and then they worry about their ability to stay.
And it's almost unfair when you watch an Olympic athlete, and we talked about, you know, everything's blocked out for 4 years, and they build and build and build, and other events, what have you. The Olympics come, first event, they don't qualify, see you later. And you've got people in this country saying, basically, why are we there? This athlete stinks. That is so patently unfair, is it not?
It's extremely unfair. These athletes sacrifice so many things along the way. You know, when I was at the 2021 Olympics, a lot of attention is given at the games for the folks who do make final races or make the podium. but very little attention is given to all of the other people. And in fact, there are more people there who don't podium than do podium. And they're human beings. And even though they're Olympians, still they feel, and this is a term I heard very frequently, they feel invisible. So they're Olympians, they're at the Olympics, they've achieved their life goal of being an Olympian, and they get to an Olympic Games, and if they don't achieve what they are hoping for, they actually are deflated and feel quite invisible.
Then what do you say to them next step further? Okay, they didn't podium, they finished 1/100th of a second behind, they finished in 4th place or 6th or whatever. What do you say to them from a mental standpoint?
It's really about reframing the definition of success, reminding them of their achievements, reminding them of their astounding journey, of everything that they've done along the way to get to that point. And, you know, acknowledging and validating their disappointment is really important, because, again, minimizing that is not going to help them, but you have to acknowledge that, but also remind them of how incredible they are.
Before we wrap up, this is we could go on for hours talking about this. When we talk about other sports, football players, again, we all look at the machismo on the field and some people play outside the line or close to it. And yet you watch them, and I'm sure, and they probably, again, the whole football adage, don't talk about it, which we're trying to break. I'm sure that a lot of them are going through the same stuff that everybody else is going through, only we put them on a pedestal because they're professional athletes.
Right, and the culture that it brings, we look at them as big, tough guys, and we don't always realize what's underneath. In the last number of years, we've instituted regular screening, particularly with the Tiger Cats, and the CFL embraced it in around 2018 after we developed the program here in Hamilton, which is fantastic. So every year we do screening for things like mood disorders, anxiety disorders, sleep issues, substance use. So we're able to identify challenges early. And these guys do come with real challenges. Sometimes they are mental health conditions. Sometimes they are just life or adversity based that they still need support with.
And I would suggest in some cases it's because if a player is from Texas and comes up here and spends 6 or 7 months of the season and he's got his family down to Texas and has to send money down, that's a whole other issue.
That's very common. And they come from a different type of background than a lot of Canadians, where there is more incarceration, more domestic violence, and just different types of neighborhoods than commonly we see with our Canadian players.
And I know that there are people that are watching that are either, as we say, Sunday athletes, they're golfers, but I know, and it's the same thing we talk about golf tournaments, first hole anxiety. You're up in a tournament, you got all these people watching, you're ready to go, and then you go, oh my God, why am I here? I just spent all this money for this charity golf tournament, but my shot just went 10 feet. What's the advice that you would have for other people that are not elite athletes but still enjoy taking part?
I think the key is finding a way to continue to enjoy it, right? Because armchair athletes or weekend warriors still heap a ton of pressure on themselves. I played in a women's hockey league in Hamilton, and we would have women showing up like they're in the Stanley Cup Finals. Because for a lot of people, I mean, sport is so very important for them. It's a part of their identity even as they get older. It's what they do outside of work. It's the only thing they do sometimes outside of work. So it's really important. So I would say it's okay to have it be important, but it's important to recognize what the important ingredients are. So it's not necessarily whether or not you win the final or you get your handicap in golf or whatever it is, but what are the ingredients of that sport activity that are truly fulfilling for you? For me, it's the hockey locker room. It's the friendship. It's the, going out for a meal afterwards. It's the fun on the ice. And I've had my day in competitive sports, but I think our relationship with sports can change over time, and it's important to keep it healthy.
You look very calm. I'm just wondering, when you play hockey, were you the enforcer type, or were you the one that sat in the slot and got the goals? Be honest now. Pause.
That's a good question. Never an enforcer. It's not...
Elbows up?
I would say that I would make it difficult for someone to take my spot on the ice wherever it was. They'd have to work for it. But certainly clean hockey, but always working to be better. So within every game or within every year, I would always set goals for myself still, even at this stage of my career. So I wanted my passes to be better. I wanted to skate harder, finish every shift. You can still set goals no matter what stage of your athletic career you are. And it can be, going to the driving range maybe once or twice a week to make sure your weekend game is better. Having goals and purpose and having a good relationship with sport and exercise is super important.
Carla, thank you. This has been a fascinating chat. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
A big thank you to all our sponsors, and a special shout out to our title sponsor, Brain Armor. Don't forget to visit brainarmor.com and use the promo code RISE and THRIVE for an exclusive 50% discount on your purchase. This episode of Rise and Thrive is proudly presented by our special title sponsor, IG Private Wealth Management, Harvey and Dalio Group, an exclusive combination of financial planning, coaching, and investment management experts. A team of professionals committed to performance-based planning. The belief is wealth planning shouldn't be made of copy and paste solutions, but rather created with the same unique care that you provide to your family and business. For more updates and to stay in the loop on upcoming episodes, be sure to subscribe to our website at riseandthrivepodcast.ca. We're grateful for your support and look forward to sharing more inspiring stories with you. Until next time, keep thriving.